Hey, WDS Mike here. We are going to take you on a site visit today. When an architect begins a project, and this is a tenant improvement, we go on site. Now, sometimes we receive as-built drawings. These are shell drawings from when the building was originally built. They're really as planned, okay? It's not often that you get the as-built, meaning any changes that were done in the field during construction are actually recorded on those plans. So it's good to come out, look at the existing conditions. You also want to look for the previous tenant that might have been in the space may have made changes, may have made improvements, and we don't always get those drawings. Today, this is a vacant space. It's what we call a vanilla shell. It's just a bathroom and a ceiling, electrical panel, lights. We are going to put a salon. It's half barbershop, half salon. Let's go into the project. I'm going to take you along and show you what we do for checking the existing field conditions. This is what I call an initial site visit. I'm going to be doing this manually today. On another video, I will show you how we bring our 3D capture camera in, and we can record everything and do a virtual walkthrough back at our office, take measurements and have a full photography. In this one, I'm going to do it manually. So I'm going to put my mask back on, and we will go, we'll see if anyone's around, and we'll see if we can safely conduct a field measure and look at existing conditions. I'm going to show you everything we do. Here we go. 101, let's walk up there. I've already got the key. It was in a lockbox. You can see down there. And I arranged this previously with the landlord. So they gave me access to 3 things. What I asked for is the access to the roof. So I already have the project and I'm already signed up. So sometimes I will go look at the existing conditions just to price the project. In this case, we have it now. So we just want to look at the existing conditions. I was just here with my engineer. He is now left. Electrical, mechanical, and plumbing engineer looking at infrastructure. So now I'm recording a few things so I can make this video after he's gone. And I asked for the roof access into the suite. So after the suite, I'll go look up at the mechanical units on the roof. As well as this interior electrical panel here, I'll go look at the meter section outside, okay? Okay, so I'm in the space. I'm gonna take my mask off because we're the only ones here. Now, basically, we have a space that, like I said, we refer to it as a vanilla shell, and we have a storefront, literally storefront glass at the front. We're going to check today on the hardware for this door. First thing I'll do is look at the hardware. And you'll see that this sticker up here says that this door to remain unlocked during business hours. If we have that on there, this door doesn't require any type of emergency hardware. It can just have a regular push-pull, and that is considered safe for egress. Next thing I'm going to look at is the units here. How many AC units are in the space? And my secret to that is really I look for thermostats and I look for return air ducts. I know that before I even climb on the roof, and in some cases I don't need to do that until I need to go look at the specs and look at the sizes. So we have 1 unit here, and these returns, these are returns. You see the difference in that grill in comparison to that one? Okay, then we look down farther, and we have another thermostat. And what do you know? Another set of returns. Now, the unit is normally going to be close to those returns, and it's going to be close to that thermostat. So when we get back and look at this space, we have the front half here with a thermostat. And beyond this column in the back, we have another return with thermostat. So that right now is our preliminary HVAC review until we go look at the units on the roof. Another thing we're going to notice is we have a couple of tiles removed here on the ceiling. So we can look at the height, the clear height. We don't always get a chance to do that. So I'm going to take this handy dandy, it's just a laser. And so I put that on the ground here and I basically project that red dot up into the deck and I get a height. In this case, try that again. Okay, 17 feet, 17 and a half feet up to the deck. The next thing we're going to look at is, and that I neglected to tell you about, was the exit sign. So there's illuminated exit there. There are fire sprinklers, as you can see. These heads that are up here are the fire sprinkler heads. And you'll see those are throughout the space. Let's look at the back door. Now, depending on the occupancy count, we may or may not use the back door. If we get up to 49 occupants, and that's done by a factor in our code book, then we would have to have panic hardware on here. If we have the exit sign, then this door needs to have the appropriate hardware. So we will look at our final design and we'll determine if we'll leave that up and put what they call panic hardware, which is a crash bar here, or if we can remove that sign and not need this as a required exit. Next, let's look at the electrical panel. In a tenant improvement, the code requires that just unlock it and push this handy dandy button here. The code requires that we have a panel inside the suite. So if you find a suite that they've demised illegally, and they've put these demising walls in, and there's no electrical panel, then it's not done legally. There needs to be a way for the suite to turn off their panels. Unless you're in some kind of an office building where all the electrical panels are in one room, that is an exception, but if it's a standalone suite in a shopping center, you need that panel. You also need to control your AC from your unit. You can't have ductwork going across these demising walls. Now let's look at this here. I'm gonna show you. Panel, this one happens to have a schedule, and this tells me on each breaker what is in the panel. And there's some spot checking I do. So basically this is, sometimes you get old panels that need to be replaced. This is not that old of a panel. They're calling it 100, which corresponds probably to the meter cabinet, that this is suite 100. This shows you that it's a 200 amp. It's gonna say 225, but that's a 200 amp panel. 208, 120 volt, 3-phase, 4-wire. So I look for that. Square D is a common brand. Those are really the basics. So your architect should actually be looking at these things, or his engineer. I look at them on behalf of the engineer. Plus, I want to know what's happening out here. We have 2 large breakers, which, as it does show, are for our rooftop HVAC units that we just looked at. There's a duct detector that goes to one or both of the units, and those are here on this breaker. And then we have another large breaker, a 35. Fortunately, it tells us. Sometimes if you're lucky, if they make changes, they'll put marker here to tell you. In this case, there have not really been changes made since this original schedule. So the water heater is there, that takes a larger breaker. And then everything else should be general lighting and power, all of these 20 amp breakers. Sure enough. Now they did have some kind of a water, looks like a water supply store was in here. Some kind of water service. Okay, so we know the panel is good. Next thing I'll look at are the restrooms. That, by the way, is your duct detector. That's how you check it. It's gonna be a little loud in here because there's a fan on. Let's see if we can turn that off. Well, we cannot. They have, for whatever reason, put tile in this room, but what I normally do at this point was I would check all my clearances for ADA, which is Americans with Disabilities Act, for handicap clearances, so forth. Get your lavatory, which is a sink, water closet, which is a toilet. Make sure those are clear, but generally, and this room measures 6'9", and I just do quick takeoffs by 7'9". So I know 7 foot range is for me at least, as a professional, I know that rule of thumb that is clear. I need 5 foot in this direction, and then I need 30 centered on my sink, 5 foot around my toilet, and that sink cannot encroach upon that 5 foot. So, and then a 5 foot turning radius. So I know this room is good just because I've looked at enough of them. I'm going to record pictures of these ceilings. So there's a supply air in there, there's an exhaust fan that's required, a light, and a fire sprinkler. Sometimes you will find fire alarm devices, but there's not anything here. That is and we're going to record that column. In this case, we have drawings that give us these dimensions, but just for good measure, I will take the suite today, and we have 30'9" for the length or the width, and the length is 67'11", so 68 feet. We already had the clear height that we recorded. Let's look, I think it was 17 feet. Let's look at the ceiling itself, which looks like it's coming out to be, I put a red dot up there, 10.5. If we did a field measure, the other thing we would want to normally do is dimension this glass. So we would actually come in here and we would measure, so it's 13 feet before that glass begins. We would measure where the door is. That is the interior, okay? I will now take you outside. We'll look at a few things there. We're going to look at ADA accessibility, accessible path through the site, which is sidewalks, ramps, and parking. We'll look at potentially look at units on the roof, and we'll go look at the electrical cabinet. Let's go. Okay, just to recap, we have done an initial site visit, the visit after doing the proposal and actually being awarded the project. This is a very small vanilla suite. We call it vanilla because it is just painted walls, a restroom, and a ceiling. A gray shell would be seeing the masonry, the bare studs, and the bare roof structure, the trusses. So this is a vanilla. There was a previous tenant here, but the landlord may have cleaned it up. And so it's basically a blank canvas, a blank slate. We looked at the doors for emergency egress. We looked at the hardware of those doors and the exit signs. We took some rough measurements of the finished ceiling, the floor to roof structure deck height. We took the length and the width. We located this column. Those are just to verify dimensions. We actually have all of the dimensions from the building back at the office. Next thing we looked at was air conditioning, just to verify. We have 2 units. We believe we have 2 units. We'll go on the roof and verify it. But the reason I know that is there's a thermostat here with a set of returns. Means the units right near those returns, near the drop from the roof. We have another thermostat here with returns. We have, obviously this column looks into a plan. Here we have a water stub. We'll be putting our plumbing wall back here, which is a break. We're going to have a break room, an employee room that has a washer, dryer, a break sink, and normally right about 30 feet. Most of these multi-tenant buildings, somewhere in the 20 to 30 foot range, you're going to have plumbing or sewer running the length of this building for each suite to tap into, and then overhead we'll have a plumbing line for water. There'll be a disconnect shut-off valve at each one. We also looked at the electrical panel and the restroom. And I'll move you over here so we can see that. So the bathroom, we're wanting to look at the notice the door swings out. We check the clearances inside the restroom. We check this electrical panel. We briefly looked at the circuits. There's an emergency circuit, it's a water heater circuit, general power and lighting circuit. We looked at the ceiling, we looked at the fire sprinklers. These are the supply air diffusers and return air grills. 2x4 recessed lighting is in this grid. This is what we call an acoustical ceiling grid. Sometimes you just call it grid ceiling. Acoustical panels, that comes from them having a material that it deadens sound in space. This is a bare concrete floor. There are saw cuts which are normal so that it doesn't take on cracking. We will leave electrical locations. You see these. Normally you see about 3 electrical outlets per demising wall, which is pretty standard as a minimum. It goes in during the initial construction. That is it. We're now going to go up on the roof and out to the electrical cabinet and finish our site review. Not to mention, these lights that are on right now, those are called night lights. There are 2 kinds of lights that may stay on. One is an emergency light for fire purposes, and sometimes you'll see them on the back exit signs. We'll show those in another video. We refer to them as sometimes as bug eyes. Those will come on only if there's a fire and the power goes out. That usually has 90 minutes to let you see in the dark how to get to the exit. It's kind of like a spotlight. Sometimes they will be wired into these grid. These ones that stay on all the time, they're called night lights. That's just more of a safety item. Let's say the police were responding in the night, things are pitch dark. This allows there to be some illumination when they peek into the suite. Look at some of the things outside that are required by code. You see the label, Suite 100. We know that we can identify it. That's an egress light, so that there's light by code above the door for emergency egress. There's lights here above this canopy to illuminate our path. Out here you see we call handicap ramp, but this is an accessible path throughout the site. You can see where over at the street, which we call the public way, we need to show on our site plan or site diagram, even for this little tenant improvement, that you can get up on a wheelchair across cross-hatched area, or from accessible parking space up this ramp and to each door. Okay, we've come to the other side of the site now. Here is our accessible ramp at this end, accessible ramp at this end. This is our cabinet. I've already taken the lock off of this thing. And what I normally do is I look at that top label. Okay, it's a 1200 amp service. These are the meters for each suite. And you'll see these labels here, 110. This is what we call a meter socket. This is a meter. This shows the last time this particular meter was installed or passed by the city. These are sockets for either suites that are vacant or that they're spares. Someone's never moved into them. And then we have a series of tenants that are occupying those. These are switches down below, kind of act like breakers. And then we normally would get into this whole cabinet, but it's locked at the moment. On the other side of those cabinets, I walked back here, and here is the riser room. This is where your ladder access is going to be. I'm going to go back up there and get that key, and we'll get up on the roof, take a picture. I won't film walking up the ladder, but I'll just take a picture of the unit and the labels to show you what we capture. This is the back of the suite, and you'll see again that the doors are back here. They need to have suite number identification. There's an egress sign above each door, and then there's wall packs, which is the taller lights up above the doors. Okay, so that is electrical and mechanical on the exterior. Okay, so we are on the roof now and show you how to look at these units. This is what we do. So we look at the model number. which is this number here, and the 60 is gonna be a 5-ton. If it's 48, it's a 4-ton. Here's the serial number. We usually take a picture of all these specs. This is a York. You can see the power here. There's a disconnect. And there's a fresh air intake. So those are the requirements, that you have a power outlet. All right, let's look at what we travel with to the site visit. I don't always take this ladder, but this is for popping the ceiling tiles, looking up above the ceiling. If there's a grid removable ceiling, this ladder projects up to, like 12 feet. And then if I turn it into an extension ladder, I believe I can get about 18 to 20 out of it. So that works, it's very compact. Then I have my go bag. And basically in here I have gloves, mask, sanitizer these days for COVID. And then in here, tripod, I have some tape for masking out. Sometimes I'm meeting with clients who want to mask out and show where their walls are during a layout process. I have a measuring tape. I have a laser. I have a second laser in here. And keep a bunch of extra batteries. Okay, and then kind of a pocket what I usually do. A clipboard in here, which is nice for writing, and this is a checklist that we've come up with, and I will post this either on this video or on a future video. And this is everything that you need to check in my office when you conduct a as-built survey site visit. That's our go bag. Okay, so if you're interested in the template, the checklist that I just showed you in the video, go right down below. I'm going to put it in the description. Great idea to grandopening.com/shop. Great idea to grandopening.com/shop. You will love it. It will help you out. You won't forget anything while on site. It'll help you tremendously and be a big time saver. You'll get through your site visit quickly.
Audio Jungle.